Hey there, berries. Welcome to episode 3 of this new mini-series that we're doing of coaching sessions. Today we're going to be looking at NaturalEevee. We're going to be looking at some Enchanter champions. We're going to be starting off with Seraphine and then maybe potentially moving on to a Nami game. If you watched the previous 2 episodes, both of them were actually Zyra games, so it's quite nice that we're moving on to an Enchanter, and then hopefully onto the next episode. In episode 4, we'll be looking at a tank support from NA. But yeah, let's have a look at NaturalEevee, and we can come and say hello. If we're on the big screen now, you can put your microphone on.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi guys.
So yeah, we're off stream, which I think is a bit more comfortable for you in particular, because I know you've got ranked anxiety, and this is
Yeah.
you're definitely one of the more nervous of the bunch of berries that we've done coaching sessions for.
Yeah, I would agree with that based on what I've seen.
So yeah, so I think it's quite nice that this one's off stream for you. A little bit less pressure,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
So what made you apply in the first place for even for
Well, I saw that you'd uploaded the YouTube video kind of explaining it, so I clicked on it just to kind of see what you were thinking about doing. And it sounded like a really nice idea, an idea that could work both for myself and for whoever you picked, and then for you as well. It wasn't just a one-way thing, so I quite liked that. But like, I saw the opportunity, I thought, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with putting my name down, so I did.
Yeah. I'm glad you
Like I
did.
lit yeah, like I literally said to Ding Ding and the pandas on that server on Discord, well, there's nothing wrong with putting my name down, so I may as well do it.
Yeah, and I mean there was about 60 applications, and we did manage to whittle it down to about 5, and now we're on 4. So you're one of the 4 people that made it through. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So just for the people that don't know, what kind of rank are you at the moment in solo queue?
I am bronze 3 at the moment.
And whereabouts do you want to be like aiming towards? Where do you want to see
Uh,
yourself at the end of the year, like when you're ending rank?
I would say high silver at the end of the year. I
Okay.
think that would be awesome.
Okay.
But right now the priority is getting out of bronze.
Yeah, I'm sure we can push you in the right direction.
hmm
So what kind of champions do you like playing?
At the moment it's Nami and Seraphine, but what I tend to find, at least this season, is I have like one-tricked people for a while, and that might just be because I'm relatively new. So I've one-tricked someone until I understand them, and then I've either stuck with them or I've moved on to somebody else.
Okay.
Um, but Seraphine has been my main go-to, with Nami being a second.
Okay.
But Nami's been quite a recent pickup because I learned her quite a while ago, but I've recently just picked her back up again.
Right. I mean, if there's time, we'll have a look at the Nami game, and I'm sure at some point during this month we'll probably end up seeing more of your Nami. Well, the first game that we will be looking at will be the Seraphine that you have on your profile recently. And well, yeah, there's a minor buff coming on for Seraphine on Wednesday as well, so it's kind of like almost perfect timing here. So you're looking to get into silver. I think we can probably try and see if we can nudge you into gold without putting too much pressure on your shoulders there.
Okay.
Try and get you some of those fancy skins at the end of the season would be quite nice.
Yeah, that would be.
Other than that, do you have like any specific questions going into this or anything
No.
on your side? No, no.
If I think of anything, I'll say it, but I
Yeah.
can't think of anything right now.
Okay, awesome. So what we'll do is, if you're unfamiliar for this series, we'll be doing a coaching session with you now, and then I'll keep a minor eye on you during the week, and then next week sometime around about the same time, but we'll be looking at another coaching session for you, seeing if you've improved, see if you've distanced yourselves from some of the mistakes that you've probably been making in lane and throughout the game, and we'll take baby steps there to kind of make sure that you're in the right direction, and hopefully, honestly, I have high hopes. I think we can probably get you into silver in a couple of weeks. I think if you manage to get the games and stuff. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna bring up your profile now. So you don't have to have your camera on now if you don't wish to. And I'm gonna bring up your profile. I'm gonna look at this Seraphine game that you have here. I believe you can still see the. Can you see?
Yeah, I can still see the screen.
Okay, awesome. What we'll do is we'll bring up the game and we'll go through. So right off the bat here, I see that it is double poke that we're up against here with the Ashe and the Senna. Let me just
Right.
have a look and see what runes and stuff you've got here. Okay, so you're running Guardian, which is fine. Shield Bash, okay. Bone Plating is fine. Revitalize is fine. Cookies and Cosmic is fine. And you've got the Armor Rune. Good. One concern I would have over Shield Bash, it's not like the worst possible rune that you can take on Seraphine, but I would also maybe consider looking at Font of Life.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if you're aware of the interaction, but if you do Font of Life debuff on the enemy, when they hit that target with an auto attack, they get healed from that. But that
Oh,
also will
okay.
proc things like the Moonstone and the Ardent Censer
Right, okay.
and stuff like that, and Staff of Flowing Water, basically anything like kind of random like that. So it might be worth potentially looking into Font of Life instead of Shield Bash.
Okay.
Especially we'll see if you're auto attacking a lot to utilize this. So I'll be keeping an eye on to see if you're actually using Shield Bash. Do you understand how
Right,
Shield
okay.
Bash works?
I'm just reading it.
Without reading it, do you know what it actually does?
I kind of knew roughly what it did, but not precisely what it
Yeah,
did.
so basically when you shield
Right, okay.
with your W, or if Guardian procs, your next auto attack would basically do more damage
Right,
based on
okay.
how much you shielded for.
Okay.
So once you get shielded, you have a small time window to basically auto attack. So I'll be curious to see if you're actually using it. And from that quick that cheeky text read, I'm assuming that you didn't know what it actually did anyway. So I'd probably
Not
suggest just to
really.
use Font of Life just to give yourself
Okay.
an easier time. But apart from that, the runes are looking fine here.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out fountain here. Let's have a look. I think scouting here is fine. You haven't leveled anything, which is fine. I think at this point I'd probably put a point in E.
Yeah, I think that's what I end up
Yep.
doing, but I think I miss.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, there's starting to be a pretty messy engage, and Yasuo isn't moving from mid, so I wouldn't like look for too much here. Okay. One thing I would do here is consider making sure you use E on this jungle buff, just so that you get another passive stack, so that you can get that double cast in lane a little bit earlier, because you've
Oh,
already
okay.
used it.
Yeah. Yep.
But use it quite early as possible as well, just so the mana regen can kick through.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
Okay. Yeah, starting E isn't exactly the nicest thing to do, but it's like you had to because of the invade, so I'm not like blaming you because of that. Like obviously it would be nicer to start with Q. So yeah, the poke there is good. I think after that though, you're not going to be able to look for more harassment anyway. So it would be like a poke and then just back out, as opposed to looking for anything more than that. Particularly against two champions that can abuse you quite a lot at range. So I think you're taking a lot of free damage here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a panic exhaust as well.
Yeah, that was a panic.
So you want to try and hold onto those summoners for a little bit more of a urgent time. So yeah, basically these guys are going to be hitting level 2 first because of the minions. So once again, just try and keep your distance. Once you hit level 2, then you can start harassing more with your Q. You did move in quite close into, so I want you to like make sure you try and keep your distance more.
Okay.
It's a pretty awkward fight here because, I mean, it's not necessarily your fault that this start of this fight has happened because of the Vayne, but you guys are level 1 versus, okay, Senna's level 1 as well, but Ash is level 2, so you have quite a big disadvantage here anyway. So try and look for like level 2 before looking for too much of an engage. I think looking for the E on Seraphine here is fine against this specific like kind of like team composition. I think if you were up against a hard engage like a Leona, then I would be holding onto the E potentially a little bit more. That's a nice combo. Yeah, it's a nice combo. I would just say like yeah, against when do you factor in though when you are playing against like a hard engage, and say if you are deeper in the lane, I wouldn't want to see you just throw out E's constantly, because then you'll have nothing to disengage from, and it will be a window of
Yeah.
opportunity for them to engage on you. Against this kind of team comp where they haven't got a hard engage, it's okay what you're doing. But just giving you a heads up, just against a hard engage, I'd only resort to doing Q poke as opposed to chucking out my E's.
Okay.
Okay, so you're warding the lane. I think you have to make a decision here whether... I think you have to kind of assume you kicked Ashe out of lane because you did poke her down quite low. So I'd be thinking about how can we get this Vayne to basically get a good recall off at this point.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I think you need to kind of posture in the lane a little bit more and try and help shove it in just a little bit quicker. Because now, okay, so now Vayne's decided to recall at this point here, and this becomes a pretty bad way for you to recall on. If she does recall here, you will have to link up with her and just leave anyway, unfortunately. But what will likely happen here is that your minions are greater than their minions. So this will always naturally just push into their side. And also that means your minions are killing these red minions, which is basically denying you XP and CS.
Yeah.
So like, ideally you want to try and like link up and try to shove this in to this turret as quickly as possible so that your minions die to them. So that when you go back into lane, it'll be back into like a neutral state or 6 minions v6 minions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oof, that's a good interrupt there by Senna as well. I'd say like...
why I didn't recall that, to be honest.
I think you have to recall because there's nothing you can do here.
I think normally I would have done, so I don't know why I didn't there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would always try and like recall with your AD carry, because now you're going to be in a position where like you're going to have to recall at some point, and you'll have to like leave your Vayne behind. Yeah, that's good. I think you can look to be aggressive here. If Senna hasn't shown herself for a little while, you can look to move forward a little bit. As soon as Senna shows up though, I'd maybe potentially respect that. Or that Vayne has got overextended quite a bit here. Guardian proc. I think... okay, right, I'm just gonna like analyze the situation. So...
okay.
I think the initial engagement here with your E is nice. I think that's a good poke, and then it's like Q auto, which you do, which is like, you know, that's the standard combos. I say at this point when Ashe actually moves forward, I don't know if you saw that. She actually moved forward after taking that poke. So you see here where you do the combo and she walks backwards away from it, but for some reason she actually walks back towards your turret by herself. So see, watch her movement here, she actually walks back towards your turret.
Oh yeah, she turns around.
Yeah, she turns around, and like actually Vayne is actually moving forward at this point. Vayne has a passive where she gets movement speed where she runs towards enemy champions. So I'd say at this point, this Ashe is like overextending like crazy. I would actually be like looking for urgency and seeing if you can actually engage on her. When you have used your E and use your Q, the only thing you can really do is W and maybe like try and push in a bit, maybe through here and see what Vayne does, and then try and follow up from that. So I'd give, which you do W the Vayne. I think at this point you do a nice dodge on the center route. I think so. You do get rooted. I'm just wondering if you could maybe potentially flash forward to do something here to the Ashe, but I don't think it would be worth it because Ashe still has flash anyway.
Yeah.
I think it just ends up Vayne just overextends a little bit. I mean the exhaust technically should have been on the Ashe, I guess, but I think that's not really your fault, and honestly I don't think there's too much you could have done there.
No.
One thing I'll just say is like try and identify those people that are by themselves and overextending a lot. You can punish them, look to punish them at least anyway.
Right, okay.
So you get the recall in through here. First buy, you pick up a fairy charm and boots, that's fine.
Just missed.
There's nothing really too much. I mean, now you know that Yi's behind you, so you kind of need to make sure that he doesn't come in from behind and look for a tower dive of sorts. Okay, so my main concern in a chase like this is that while you're going to be doing this, you're going to be losing resources in the bot lane. So like during this, you kind of need to make sure that this ends up being worth your time. Otherwise, if you get nothing from this, say if Yi gets away, then you're losing these resources basically for nothing, and it looks like Ash can probably then get a turret plate as well. So you need to make sure that this guy dies. If not, if you feel like that you can't get a kill here, then I would, even as a support, just go back into this lane here and claim these resources being taken. Like, if that does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, good. We get a kill from that, and then it's just about urgency now at this point, because it's like you just need to get back into this lane as quickly as possible so you don't miss too much. So Ash did get the play, and she did deny 5 CS off of you guys. So you just want to get back down there, or back to like a lane where there's resources to be taken as quickly as possible.
Which, yeah, we didn't do that.
I think this is an okay move as well. I think, you know, if you...
I think because the Vi was there. If the Vi wasn't there, we would have just gone straight back to lane, but because the Vi was nearby...
Yeah. I think as a support...
we saw Dragon was up.
As a support, you can't make a call like this. I don't think this is up to your jungler to do, and I think your jungler has made a really good call here. So you had, as I said, you had 2 options. Well, you had an option is to come back into lane to claim resources, but also this is also a resource. So, and you just killed their jungler. So there is a small window of opportunity here to kill it. But you would have to make the split decision to do that right now, because the respawn timers at this time in the game are really low, and like Yi's already up at this point. So you would have to kill this really, really quickly. I mean, it's tiny bit risky. Luckily, Yasuo has this lane pushed in, and Ziggs has got no mana, which you probably weren't aware of anyway. No. I probably wouldn't be fully 100% aware of the mid lane situation. So overall, from a team's perspective, this is actually the right call to do in order to do the dragon. Okay, then the one thing is now is that because the respawn times are so low, you don't want to get caught up too much in a fight, because you will be coming down and he's just bought items with his forced recall.
Yeah.
So I can see if this ends up being an overstaying situation, this could get a bit dangerous. And once again, don't forget, you just need to get back into this bot lane, because now you've been denied another wave. So it's good that your team got the dragon, but now you guys have lost 2 waves now at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, Ash used heal. That's fine. Okay, Yi's down here. Yeah, Vayne's health is looking a bit scary. Okay, what I would say at this point here is... So Vayne is pretty squishy at this point, and she is close to dying, and then she actually gets caught out by this root. I'd say look at all the resources used here already. So Ash has already used her arrow, and she's really low on mana. Senna just used her root, and she's really low on mana as well. The only things that you really need to be kind of scared of is auto attacks, and your health bar is pretty healthy. So I'd say here you could posture and kind of like dissuade them from going onto the Vayne. So here she takes the root, and I think at this point I would actually nudge forward a little bit to try and see if I can dissuade them from pushing onto your Vayne here.
Right, okay.
Because you're so healthy. Yeah, I mean, luckily, you know, they were out of mana and stuff, but like, if possible, try and dissuade them from linking up into the Vayne, otherwise it could end up in like a spicier situation. Decent route here. At this point, you won't be able to look for a kill because Vayne's health is too low. I don't think you guys necessarily need to recall unless you're worried about like being tower dove by Yi, just because of their mana situation, and Ash has already used arrow. So they shouldn't be able to dive you here. In fact, honestly, I think I don't want you to get in the mindset of being greedy, but I think you could be there 1v2, because it's just another wave and then half a wave here being lost here as well. Yeah, just the overall situation from the Yi chase. You got the dragon, you got a kill, but you need to try and mitigate how many resources that you're missing down the bot side, because now we're entering into 3.5 waves missed, and you're level 4 now, and the enemy bot lane at level 6.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're getting the XP that you need.
Okay.
Because Seraphine, honestly, her main kit is just her ulti.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So the longer that it's going to take you to hit level 6, the harder influence that you're going to have in the game. So you're probably about to hit level 5 here, but it's... yeah. Still got a long way to hit level 6 now, though. Okay, so in this situation here, what I would say is if you aren't able to hit the turret for gold stacks, which you can't really because there's only 3 caster minions here, I would look to potentially push in this wave as much as possible and just like hit this. Just like make it weaker. The main reason for that is that like by the time that these 3 melee minions die, like this whole red wave has now like basically stopped. They won't move past these 3 caster minions, but your minions are still going to be progressing up the lane. So where like these 2 waves would naturally meet flat dead in the middle, but because this wave is halted, this wave will continue progressing up. So by the time that these 3 caster minions die, the wave will meet somewhere just behind you, basically around about here, and it's quite deep. Whereas if you guys are able to push in this wave relatively quickly, then your wave will crash in, and then it will be a proper reset at the end.
Right, okay. I get you.
So yeah, well, by the time that this castaways, yeah, this wave basically meets basically where I said was. So you see how that's like quite deep now. I mean, it would have met that anyway with you hitting this, but these minions would be lower HP. So you better like get out of this situation as quickly as possible, so you're not as deep.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing I think you're doing is that you're playing very respectful. How much gold have you generated from your quest? 600. Okay, so you have have generated an okay amount of gold, and I was worried that you wouldn't have completed your first part of the quest yet on the items, but you're doing okay. Just try.
Yeah, I have had games recently where I have had a bit of trouble being respectful, but well, you know what I mean, like being almost too respectful.
Yeah.
But generally, I'm okay with getting Spell Thieves, at least the first part done.
Okay, let's try to link up with your jungler. I think, you know, if you were 6 here, this would be much easier.
Yeah, it would, 100%.
Now you do hit 6, ulti goes down. Okay, that's fine overall. So I think the main problem I can really see is just on Seraphine, you just need to put XP urgency just a little bit higher. You don't want to make sure that I'm not seeing like any glaringly like huge like mechanical issues or anything like that. It's just maybe a little bit of brushing up on the wave management would be good.
Yeah, it's something I've never really like looked into, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I've seen bits and pieces about it like online and when other people I know talk about it, but it's something that does go over my head a little bit, mainly because I've not read into it yet.
Okay. I mean, I like that you did move a little bit. My main concern is like you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're roaming too much, because once again then you'll be losing XP.
Yeah.
And now you kind of like also somehow managed to get into a position where you're completely cut off your team. These 2 could easily turn onto you here.
Oh yeah, 100%. They definitely could.
It's just working out how that happens. So you're clearing out a ward. I think here, so as soon as Senna pops up here, I think you just need to... the safest place for you to go to would be towards your team, especially if they end up collapsing somehow over here. So it's better to like be slightly delayed. Like here is a perfect... You're actually with your team here. So you want to say like where, you know, your allies are. The worst case is here is just going up and then kind of abandoning the situation between these 2.
Don't know why I'm not.
Yeah, so you're still with your team, and then you kind of go up, which is a shame because now these now engaging and you're not here.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of having to run.
I think I saw the amount of people and was like, okay, no. Basically, I think that's what it was.
I will say in this game in particular, there hasn't been too much that you've needed to do, fortunately. Okay, and then you want to look to recall, get wards up, and you're gonna want to get. You want XP basically.
Yeah.
I think going back down to Vayne here is fine. I think at this point, yeah, you land your E, which is good, but I want to see you like keep playing aggressive into this. When you see like one person by themselves like this, like an AD carry, like really squishy, and it's like 2v1, I want to see a little bit more aggressiveness, making sure that you catch out this target overextending, because it's going to happen a lot in bronze and silver, where any AD carries or like squishy targets are going to be overextending a lot.
Okay.
So let me have a look at the. You land the E, which is good. I mean, your skill shot landing is decent rate, to be honest. So you land the E. At this point, I'd look to move forward from this. Reach the Vayne and just link up with the Vayne here. Just think of like in between you two as there's a line between you two, like a tether line. You don't want it to like step too far away and let it break essentially.
Okay.
Good ult. Yep, good. The thing that my only concern is that I don't know if you would have actually gone in if Vayne didn't ulti. So
I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have if Vayne hadn't ulted.
So yeah, I would say if you can identify that an enemy AD carry is by themselves like that, like blatantly overextending, I would say it's better to go for that play than not to. I think that you should attempt to punish. Like in some extreme cases, it could be a bait, like there could be like an enemy jungler hiding in the brush. But I think in this ELO, more often than not, that's unlikely to happen.
Right, okay.
And most people in high ELO would only do that if they were going to be baiting. So it's like the mental will shift later on as you get into like plat. But at this point, just punish these people that are overextending, essentially.
Okay.
And it's not the easiest thing to do on a champion like Seraphine, especially if you haven't got your ultimate. But you can like encourage your AD carry. If you move forward to encourage your AD carry to move forward, it will kind of give them like for the more passive AD carry, it will give them more like visual confirmation that they should go in. Whereas if they see you heading the other direction, then they won't necessarily go in themselves. I think potentially here you can kind of look at the same thing as well. You could maybe like nudge up forward a little bit to harass a Senna that's kind of by herself, but that's fine. Do you have oracles? Yeah, I was going to say. Good. And we're heading into...
I don't always know when and where to sweep. So like when I first was starting to learn the item, like I was basically told, right, for now just get used to using it and remembering that you have it, and then you can kind of work on when to use it later, and then that's just never happened.
Okay. So for example here, like if you've decided, okay, I'm going to go into the river for vision or some reason like that, and your oracles is ready, as soon as you start like getting into like this area here, basically you want to maximize the duration of oracles. So for example, if you're positioned, say if you should be scouting this entire like river basically, I would say at this point here, I wouldn't even pop it until now here.
Right, okay.
Because you're basically wasting a second of being able to check the rest of the river. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the circle around you. So you want to get like, from here you can then see obviously that's your ward actually. So there's nothing in there. You keep progressing forward, oracles, and then you would have found that. One thing I would also check on an ocean salt as well, just make sure there's like nothing crafty like in this brush here. It's better to clear
in the one at the back of the pit?
Yeah, this one's a really annoying brush. Like this is like particularly if you're red side, this is like the most annoying brush in the entire game, because if you're red side,
can see that.
yeah, you want to pull the dragon out, and then like there's enemy champions or wards like hiding in here, and it's really like scary for you to then face check at that point, because people could be behind this wall to then like attack you.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to like face check, like be inside the brush generally to kind of clear it out and things like that. So if you're red side on the opposite side of the map, like this brush try and, like, whenever you're in this kind of area situation, do give it a quick glance to make sure the enemy doesn't actually have vision in there.
Okay.
This is fine. Probably wouldn't have committed for an E there, just because you have very little vision overall on the map anyway. Like if I toggle it over to blue, you can't really see a whole lot of where the enemy jungler actually is, so you might have needed that E if he suddenly pops out and, coming for the crab himself. So, I mean, you're only like shaving off half a second on the kill time on the crab, but you're down double cast on your root. So it's generally just not worth it. Just let the auto hit it. The Vayne will just have to take an extra half a second killing it.
Okay.
Also means that you don't have double cast. You might want to start thinking about chucking your Qs out randomly as well. Just to stack up your passive, especially for when you're getting ready for an engage like this. Like, so say if you're in the river here, and you can see that the enemy bot lane is overextending like crazy down here, and they're going to be overextending for this turret. Like, I would be then looking to, if I was in the situation with the passive, I would chuck out a Q here, just to then start like racking up that double cast, because you're going to want that double cast on the E.
Okay.
Wow, this Ashe is, yeah, at this point here, I would not be afraid. Like, you guys have absolute, like, right to punish this Ashe. She is way too far forward again. I think you even have vision of the Senna here. Yeah, so yeah, you have vision of Senna over here. Like, that means this Ashe is extremely likely to be by herself. I would do whatever it takes to get this Ashe caught and get your team free gold. Like, you don't need to... yeah, you're kind of backing off, and you're only going in because the Vayne's committing into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a target where, you know, they're left alone like that, don't be scared, because you nearly completely abandoned the Vayne there, and that could have been Vayne dying.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid if it's a squishy target by themselves posturing, like overextending like crazy. Like at this point in the game, like 60 minutes in, Ashe has absolutely no right to be here.
Okay.
And don't forget there's two of you and one of her, so...
Yeah.
I think your nervousness character is really shining in this game as well.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a couple of weeks, but I think we can get you to get a little bit more confidence in solo queue. I'm going to be encouraging you to do flash plays and stuff, I think.
Okay.
I think it's better to attempt something and risk it, and then learn from that, and learning the limits of your champion, rather than playing extremely safe and like letting everything like fly by. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game.
Yeah.
There's no real world consequence for messing up, so it's better to like mess up, learn from those mistakes, as opposed to making no mistakes and not really learning anything.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think it's just a bit hard to put it into practice, I think.
Okay, I see from this point you're kind of like aimlessly wandering around a little bit. Your Vayne just died.
I tend to do that quite a bit after laning phase, because I don't always know what to do.
So if you don't know what to do, the first thing you need to do is like look at what objectives are coming up next. It looks like dragon is, unfortunately, it's really hard to see from my UI to see, but like the egg time has just popped up on the dragon, which is going to indicate that this dragon's going to be coming out soon. So this dragon's the next objective, and your team already has 2 dragons. So if you can get that 3rd dragon, it's going to put you in a really nice position, because in 5 minutes the enemy, you basically can choose between doing Baron or Dragon Soul.
Yeah.
So at this point, you know, the dragon spawning, your only kind of like main priority in terms of vision is bot side of the map. So you don't really have to worry about top side. So your whole focus is mid to bot lane. Just try and get don't go too deep. I wouldn't like go face checking here, but just get a couple of wards down, and then recall. And then by the time you get back here, you got 3 wards, maybe a control ward or 2, and you're then ready again to put more vision back down if the enemy have cleared it.
Okay.
So that's what you kind of want to do about 40 seconds in this mid game, 40 seconds before an objective is spawning, 40-50 seconds. Get the wards down that you can do. recall, enemy will probably clear out 1 or 2 because they'll be doing something similar, but because you recall quicker than them, you're going to be able to re-establish the vision that your team needs in order to set up for the dragon properly.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
You'd refer to that as like a reset, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Right, okay, that's fine. Just so I was thinking of the right thing. I don't know why I didn't climb.
Okay. I think... Okay, so the fight has now ended. I can see why you're heading over here. But once again, it's like, get the vision down and then just reset as quickly as possible.
Okay.
I don't know the exact... Okay, this dragon's actually already spawned, so the egg time was misleading for me. But like, generally, you know, 40 seconds, 50 seconds before the dragon spawn, get the division down. If you're already in the area, get the division down, recall. By the time you get back, dragon will be about to be spawning. So at this point, you wouldn't be able to recall now at this point because dragon's actually already up, so you need to prioritize vision. I'm just going to have a quick look and see what you've got in terms of wards and things. So you have a control ward and you have a normal ward. Okay, so what I would do in this situation here, I would try and make sure when you were here, for example, I would have warded this brush just so that you got vision of this corridor here, so you can see that if they're coming down. Like getting a heads up to see if they're coming down is more important in some cases than actually having vision here, because it gives you like if you need to like leave the dragon, if that makes sense. Yep. So also this control ward that you have in your inventory. I want to see. Yeah, you don't have a control ward even placed. So you have a couple of options in the situation of where to put a control ward. Where do you think you would put a control ward? Like, would you put it in here in the dragon pit, or would you put it in a brush?
I think there's already one in the pit. I think. Oh, it's not in the brush. It's not in the brush though.
Where do you think is an optimal place to put a control ward?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, so one thing I'm going to say, a lot of people just dump a control... If they're already started the objective, a lot of people would put a control ward in the dragon pit.
Okay.
But that's not the right answer, though. Because, especially when you're playing like this. So the enemy are going to be coming through one of 2 corridors here. So they're going to be coming through here, where at the blue buff way, or they're going to be coming through here. Which ideally you would have had a ward in here anyway to identify that they were coming down. But the next thing that they're going to do is they want vision of this dragon objective, and you need to kind of deny them vision of the area and make them hesitate and struggle to come into the situation anyway in the first place. So there's 2 kind of there's 2 maybe 3 locations because of Ocean Drake that you can put a control ward. A basic one would be this pixel brush here.
Yep.
Because they will probably go from here and then ward over into this brush just to make sure like no one is going to jump out and attack them here.
Yeah. And
the control ward can deny them some time. A second ward, if there is no Ocean Drake, a good ward placement, control ward placement is actually around about here where my cursor is. Can you see that?
I can't see your cursor.
Right, I'm zooming in just like above the scuttle.
Oh, okay. Like in the middle of the river.
Yeah, basically, something else could happen is they could stand behind this wall here and place a ward over the wall, but then it will get instantly denied. And it's kind of the same from this location as well. People will stand here at this wall and then put a ward over, and it will just deny that instantly. A third option, because there is an Ocean Drake, so this extra brush is spawned, you could put one here. Actually, where that red circle is, you could actually like put like a ward there.
Right, okay.
Rather than the actual pit, because you want to like make them struggle and like hide as much information as possible. It doesn't at this point. By the time they actually get into vision, they're going to see the dragon health no matter what. It's all about making them struggle coming into the area into the first place.
Okay. Make them hesitate to go in almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, this is now like a difficult situation because your team isn't with you either. You've got Flash, you've got Exhaust. Nice Dragon Steel. Okay, so let's just see what you could do here. I think you could do the right move here is move to the back of the pit because you have Flash, and the worst case scenario is you can just flash over the wall.
I think at one point I did that. It might not have been this fight, it might have been another fight or another game. I think I did end up flashing over the wall.
Okay, so positioning wise, you're good for the fight. What? Nice double hit on the ulti there. I would just say immediately Like the perfect exhaust would be as the charm is ending, because they're technically not attacking anyway, then whack the exhaust down.
Okay.
Just to fully maximize the amount of damage reduction they're doing, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would then whack exhaust on the Ziggs, and then I would be... I think you're very brave going for the dragon here. But nice take on the dragon. I think at this point, I would be looking to flash away over the wall. Yeah, which you do. I think you play that... I think that fight you basically nearly play perfectly.
Oh, I think I do something really stupid. What do I...
Like the ult there is very good. Is maybe you could have argued slightly greedy that you actually managed to clip both of them, but it's a very good ult. And then yeah, the only thing I would say I'll criticize is just get that exhaust down as quickly as possible.
Okay. Also,
regarding the exhaust, just this isn't quite relevant to this fight in particular, but did you know exhaust slows the target so that you can it also counts towards the E stun and root?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the exhaust down just a little bit late, maybe, but you know, it's nearly perfect of what I would expect. What I want you to do. One thing you could maybe do is hang around the fight a little bit, which you're doing good.
See, my instinct would have been to recall there, I think. So initially I did go to recall because I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm low, and I think the C gets me.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of. It's quite difficult to say. I mean, in hindsight, you might have had a ward here to tell you more about this area earlier. But I think it's nice that you are confident enough that with this amount of HP that you feel like you can still follow up your team. And I think overall, this will benefit you more than not. So even though the E does clean up here, I will say overall, it's not... I like to see you doing this, like staying at the back still with low HP as opposed to completely abandoning your team.
Okay.
I think it's just a particularly good flank from you. And under normal circumstances, this Yasuo would probably be taking more part in the fight.
Yeah, probably.
So I wouldn't want to dissuade you from doing that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think I think that's probably the most confidence I've seen you have in this game. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for you, but I don't want it to dissuade you.
Yeah. I think sometimes, because I think like when I first was kind of picking it up, I've had a couple of deaths like that, and because I've not known whether that was the good idea or not, I've kind of just gone, okay, just play safe.
Okay, at this point here, if you ever get an opportunity, if you're getting pushed in and having to play on the defensive, even for a couple of minutes, just try and get a ward like roughly where this cannon minion is, this blue cannon minion. Just so that you can see...
Oh, in the middle of the lane?
Yep, just so if you can see what these two are going to be up to after they push in this wave. Are they going to keep going down into the lane? Are they going to go up top or towards Baron? Or are they going to like just go back and recall? Or it just gives you a lot of information to know what their enemies like going to be doing next.
Okay.
Because you'll lose vision now.
Yeah, now the minions aren't there.
Yeah, I mean Nasus is going crazy here. Yeah, try and follow them up. You don't have ultimate at the moment, so it's going to be pretty difficult for you to necessarily follow this up. I think once again, even if you end up putting a ward here, putting another one here as well is another really good location. So the most valuable ward locations in the game are in this mid lane. In high ELO,
I wouldn't even think that.
Yeah, in high ELO, some supports will even put control wards in the mid lane just so that they don't see their rotations.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's very... So the way you're standing literally right now in Seraphine is a perfect ward location.
Right,
and where this backcaster minion is, just so that you can see that when you're playing on the defensive, like ideally this ward is better. If you happen to be like flipping and being on the aggressive like this, then put another ward here.
Okay.
Okay, so... wasn't going to comment, but that Yasuo just walked in like 6 mines after the Ziggs died and killed himself. I think here linking up with team is good. Let me just check your items as well. Moonstone, you're going into Grievous Wounds, which is fine. Grievous Wounds against that team is decent. Although overall you can't really go too wrong with Grievous Wounds. There are like a couple of rare games where Grievous Wounds isn't like super amazing, but healing in League overall is quite dominant still.
Yeah. Oh, that just missed. Damn
Yeah,
it.
what I would say is that even if you do clip those two, nothing will come off that.
No, it wouldn't.
It looks maybe more like a defensive ulti, which I can kind of understand. But yeah, unless it's like an actual like immediate threat, I'd say that's. I mean, overall your ultis have been pretty clean. I'd say that one is just unfortunately like, even if you were to land it, it wouldn't be worth it. I want to see you hold it for. At this point in the game, once we're entering the 20-minute plus stage, I want to see you having a lot of value from your ulti, so that if you're charming people, your teammates are there to punish them.
Okay.
Just at this point, because Seraphine, honestly, as you mentioned, most of her kit is literally just the ulti. So after that, you're kind of like, you are dancing around, just mashing random buttons, and yeah. Like if you had your ulti for that fight, like for the actual fight, then that fight would have probably been a bit different.
Yeah.
So try not to panic and use it. Like it is okay to be patient with that and just hold on to it a little bit. Especially if it's just like one teammate maybe getting caught off. Like ideally you want to get like kills from your ulti rather than looking for it to be too passively.
Yeah. Am I doing the right thing by rushing? I can't remember the name of it. It's the boots, the tier 2 boots.
Cooldown reduction boots is fine. Yep.
Right, okay, that's fine.
That's
Just
absolutely fine.
double check that.
Yep, I'd take that on most enchanters.
Okay.
I think it's rare that I would take like steel caps or merch reds. It's rare that I would take that on an enchanter.
Okay. Just wanted to check I was buying the right thing.
Yeah, I mean your item build there is fine.
Okay.
It's fine. And honestly, from what I've seen so far, it's generally been fine. I think you just need to show a little bit more aggressiveness, especially when targets are like overextending like crazy. You just need to learn to punish them harder.
Okay. Yeah.
And apart from the one, just the one ulti as well, it's like yeah, it's just like your ult is like, unfortunately, her kit is like the most important thing. There isn't actually too much else to her apart from that.
Yeah.
So when you miss an ulti, I'm gonna be more harsh than you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because it's just very important. Okay, so this so you're in an interesting situation here, because this Yi is now committing to a fight up top, and you have Vi coming in, so you have numbers. You can also see that, well, you wouldn't have been able to like necessarily view that the enemy team was dying, but you could see that they, by glancing at the minimap at this point while traveling up, you would be able to see that there's two mid. So worst case scenario is, you might be able to see that Ash, you probably won't be able to, but at worst case, you know...
I don't think I saw the Ash.
Yeah, so worst case scenario is that you know this is at least a 3v3, so you just need to make sure you full commit onto it. The reward for you guys, if you win this fight, Yi's dead, and it means that you could potentially do Baron off this. So this is like a really, really important fight.
Okay.
Let's see what you do. You've got flash but no exhaust. I think your E is good. Okay, Yasuo cleans that up pretty nicely. Okay, this is fine. Okay, at this point, I'd like to see you guys move away from top. Got a lot happening down mid here as well, that they're pushing in quite deep, and also you've got Dragon coming up as well, so yeah, rotating down to bot side is like the best case. Clearing them out from mid and then rotating to Dragon would be the correct play here. Alright, you really got a really nice pincer here now, so these guys should definitely be getting caught off. I'll be looking to do whatever I can here to make sure that we get a kill here. Okay. I think now at this stage, it's probably going to be a big fight at this dragon since it's Ocean Soul. You just need to get maximum value from your ulti. And I know you're delayed now from coming to this dragon. Like ideally we would have had better vision here, but because of that top lane situation and the Baron potential, it was worth it being up there. But you're at this point in time, do you have wards? You still got 4 wards and a controlled, so you want to basically... your priority right now isn't doing damage to the Drake. It is preventing them from coming to do the dragon and getting vision for your team.
Okay.
Because, you know, Seraphine isn't going to do any damage to dragon. So
I didn't check that
more urgency on this brush. I've noticed this is the second time this brush hasn't been warded. Like this corridor is big, so make sure. I wouldn't even necessarily bother with this ward here.
Okay.
Like, the urgency is dragon, and this is now too far away. Like, by the time you get over their ward and then come back, you're away from your whole team. So for me, it would be walk in here. Oracles is good. I would put urgency on. I'd probably throw a Q in this brush here, or an E.
Which one?
Actually, because you have double cast.
Sorry.
So this brush here, because you have double cast and E, and you kind of want to face check it, I would actually do a double cast E, and then chuck out a Q just so that your passive is getting an extra charge anyway. So yeah, so I would face check this with E and then Q, and then put a ward in when if I felt confident no one was in there, or probably would do it anyway. So just in the tip here, just so you don't have to go like super deep with this. You can just put it in the tip there, so you don't get like, say if someone was hiding behind this corner here, then if you were to walk all the way up to the top of the brush, then you would be in trouble basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just in the tip there, and then just get back into lane, and then it would be, then you would actually be able to meet up with this Ziggs here. Yeah, the priority... Okay, now that actually the priority is actually for you to try and kill this dragon, which is actually hilarious. Yeah, ideally that shouldn't be the case. Your main job should be to just focus on making sure that these guys can't intervene. And I could say, like, maybe, you know, if you were here like a second earlier, or instead of warding this brush over here, you could have maybe been in a better position to stop them from maybe even necessarily entering this corridor, this alleyway here, anyway.
Yeah.
Like at this point as well, you have ulti. I think, yeah, it's difficult that you're going to be able to. And this dragon is super. Well, that's bright. Yeah, it's super frustrating that this dragon is on this low amount of HP. But
I know.
I think just trying to chuck out your ulti somewhere at this point would be like important. Yeah, that's rough that you guys end up losing the dragon because of that. There's one thing you could have done now with that combo was exhaust then E rather than E then exhaust.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a little bit of urgency in terms of the actual objective, and try not to fixate too much on like you must DPS it. Your job as a support is to ensure that people don't come to the objective anyway, unless you're playing like maybe a Brand or a Zyra.
Okay.
But even then, still though, you actually want to still make sure that the enemy doesn't come in though. With vision, and you know, put them off with like crowd control basically.
Mhm. Oh, stupid minions.
Okay, so where do you think we need vision now? So what neutral objectives are still up?
No, it's the Baron, isn't it?
Yeah, so because the dragon's down and it's going to be down for the next 4 minutes, priority vision now needs to be on the top side of the map, and you want to get this area in control for your team. So I'll be looking after the dragon here is done. The only objective that both teams will heavily compete for is this Baron. So that would be your priority, would be looking to basically ward the Baron area as quickly as possible. Which you are doing. This is what I'm looking for. Good. Kind of. Okay, so you did scout out with the oracles, but I want to see like actual vision being placed.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be directly in the pit, but like this pixel brush here.
Yep.
The ward in there at the very least.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to kind of identify like what objectives. Ask yourself like what objectives are the teams going to be fighting for. Like once you've identified that, and that's the area that you basically need to gain vision of.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Because right now, like, you don't have any like wards set up here. This scuttle will go away, and then
Yeah.
you actually will have absolutely no vision of this area at all. This is the only vision that you've got here. Vi's even recoil, so you have absolutely no vision on above the mid lane, apart from your Yasuo ward. So yeah, just give that a thought for like the objectives that what you need to make sure you got keep vision.
Okay.
Because right now, like, there's no reason that a fight should break out here.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I want
Because there's
that,
no
so...
objective here now for 4 minutes. So
Exactly.
there's no. It's extremely unlikely that there's going to be any event around here. So it's just absolutely no priority. So you want the room again. And as mentioned before, important ward is like, as the enemy team has actually done a ward in the middle of the lane. I think you can do one here, like here.
Okay.
Yeah, if you got wards, yeah, you're walking into a brush and you're quite deep, but you're not warding. Like, you could you're right there for a ward. You can just put a ward in the corner of this brush.
Yeah, definitely.
Here to see both out. Yeah, this you're actually at the brush, but you're not warding it. There's like no excuse for that.
No, there isn't.
You even doing a moat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and once again, you're walking past further brushes, and yeah, and you're holding 2 wards at the moment and a control ward. So you actually are walking past the brushes that you need to be walking past, but you're not actually warding them. Okay. Good. That's a good pick. So now the urgency is Baron. You've got a pick. Okay. So once again, you guys need to... Let's do 2 things that ideally would happen here. That you guys would push in this wave quickly. Just so that you deny the enemy vision. Also, your minions will give you vision by walking down the lane. Okay. So you better see where what the enemy team are up to. And then you would progress over. But on a champion like Seraphine, it's going to be very difficult for you to push in this entire wave. So only do that if your team is doing it as well. I don't want you to be like caught up doing that by yourself. Okay. So that's like, for example, yeah, your Vi and your Nasus are doing it. So you just help them do this as quickly as possible. Like, once again, you want to get your Q, use your Qs to get your passive up. So you got your double cast on your E ready again.
Okay.
You need to be building up those stacks. So at this point, you could... I mean, Ash is bot side. You've made a pick. You could potentially look over towards the Baron. You could maybe ping it to indicate that. Maybe take charge a little bit. If no one listens to you, then just keep following with your team.
Right, okay.
Like, unfortunately, it's always going to be the jungler's choice overall on terms of doing the Baron. But you can give them the idea. Like, they maybe haven't thought of it, but you can maybe give them the idea of that.
Okay. Yeah, I get you.
Like, decent route again. You killed their jungler now, so now like Baron is like looking very exciting.
Yeah.
You still have ulti, which is good. You haven't like used it panically on like one target at the moment. Okay, you're extremely low now though. Yeah, you can't back this Nasus up, and he's by himself, and the rest of your team are disappeared. I think you recalling here is the right call. But are you holding on wards? Yeah, you still have that one ward.
Yeah,
like as you're getting deeper and deeper into the enemy jungle, like, you're probably not going to get a decent opportunity for like this again. Like, you might not find yourself here for a long time. So like a ward in this brush that you're recalling in is really good. Also, you can place a ward while recalling. It won't interrupt you.
Right, okay, got it.
So just dump a ward in here, because you're going to be going back into base anyway and refilling your charges. So like it's actually it's no big deal that you're warding here.
Okay.
So definitely like learn to as you're moving, ward.
Okay.
All right. So once again, what do you think is the where do you think you should be at this point in the game?
Trying to figure out where people are.
If I said you needed to get vision,
yeah, it would be. Oh, it'd be dragon. It's about to come up, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, so this one's quite a tricky one, because now you've got 2 cases of like 2 neutral objectives coming up. It's in favor of your team though, because it's just another normal dragon for the enemy team, but it's Ocean Soul for you.
Yeah, so, I think that's what I would think, is to prioritize dragon to try and get the soul.
Okay, so at this point in the game, one thing I'll be looking at is deaths.
Okay.
So two people on your team are dead with very long respawn timers. And I would say that it's going to be where the enemy team is like positioned, but that's where they're most likely going to be doing that neutral objective.
Yeah.
So if they've been fighting down bot side, it's likely that they're going to attack dragon, which means that I don't want you to be by yourself face checking this, because then you'll die, and then
No.
if you die,
Yeah.
they get dragon, and then they can move over to baron.
Yeah. So what would be like the thing to do in this kind of scenario?
Okay, so obviously, ideally, we would have had a ward around the Baron area. That would have been super, super helpful earlier on.
Yeah.
So that would have helped, like, reduce the risk that you're going to have to take now in order to get vision. So this is, like, the consequence of you not building up the vision.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't think you can do too... This mid wave is pushing in, and these guys bot are really, really far away. So you have two choices. You can stay mid and make sure that the center doesn't solo push in this wave, or you link up with your bot lane and kind of see what happens with the Vi and the Astro, and see what kind of happens from there. I think either player is fine, but yeah. Okay, so you now decided to be with the Vi and the Yasuo because the dragon's respawning. What you do have Nasus coming back up with teleport, but you won't have your Vayne. So you kind of want to look. You do notice that the Maud is up here. If you're looking at the mini map, you don't know that the Senna's doing this. You won't have vision of this. No. So you know that Maud is up top lane, but he probably has TP as well. I would assume that he would have teleport up at this stage anyway. So you want to just kind of slow things down a bit to buy as much time for Vayne to come back into the fight. If your team does fully commit though, I want to see a juicy ulti. So position, basically, the main thing I'm looking for you here is positioning that you're safe, but you're able to do a really nice ulti on multiple targets. That's like the main thing I'm looking here for you.
Okay.
But okay. I don't think you can help that at that point.
No.
That's way too deep. I think Yasuo gets a kill, which is cool, but then he will die from this. I would then maybe look to backing up this Vi slightly. Like, you remember how we were talking about that tether? This tether is broken right now because you have no way of supporting her, but you're still in like a deep-ish position anyway. So just try and link up a little bit here. You can always, if you're not confident about a play or you think the Vi is doing something stupid, feel free to do the back ping on them. Okay. It's okay to communicate via that. So yeah, now you've like built that tether back up. Nasus has teleported in. Okay, that's fine. I would also, as I said, look to do a Q anyway, even if it's not necessarily going to hit, just so you get that double cast on your E back as soon as possible.
Okay.
Not the juicy ult that we're looking for.
No.
It's a nice little attempt there, but I think it was a bit hastily done. I think you could wait until like Vi ults first, and then do an overlap crowd control off of that. That you can use other crowd control to set you up. You don't have to like necessarily always do like you know, yeah. I think like if for example heck here, if you had waited the ulti until like now, maybe you could sidestep behind this Nasus and then just like ult behind him to then like get through up here. I think that's probably your best bet. So yeah, I'd say like also look up to chain CC rather than from other people, as opposed to just fully relying on yourself having to do the big play.
Okay.
But you guys do get the pick. You need to kill this Ocean Drake now as quickly as possible. Once again, we've got wards on you. 2 wards. You got to make sure that, you know, people aren't coming in. They're dissuaded to coming in. Your team's aware that people are coming in. So just put a ward. I would put just a ward in that pixel brush here and just get this Drake done as quickly as possible. So you're coming up here to answer the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser will be here because he's salted. Okay, cool. I think from here you can now look to using Baron. The team's called it as well. So I want to see good vision here. Okay, so when we were talking about Dragon and Blue Side, how you wouldn't want to ward the Dragon, put control in the Dragon, it's because it'd be better off putting a control ward here to stop them from coming in from the flanks, right?
Okay.
But because with Blue Side now attacking the Baron, the main threat is them potentially stealing Baron and then coming over this wall to steal it. So
Yeah.
that's where the control ward on the Baron becomes much more valuable if you're on this side of the map.
Also in the actual pit.
Yeah, so you're gonna want
Right.
someone needs to, if there's already one here, then that's awesome. But
Yeah.
if there is no control ward placed in the Baron pit when you're blue side, it's very important that you get one in.
Okay.
Because, like, for example, if you're on the opposite side of the map on Drake here, this is your side of the map. No enemy player should be coming over here and stealing the dragon when you're on it, because you know that shouldn't happen. But because on the Baron here, people, if you're on blue side, on red side, they can come over this wall. So you need to make sure that they don't have vision of this, so that it makes them, if they try and smite steal it, then it's going to be like really scuffed.
Right.
So that would be the urgency here, is to get a control like right in front of the Baron here, as deep as possible.
Okay.
That way it would see wards that are placed at the back of the pit.
Right. Got you.
If there's already a control ward there placed, then I want you to like use a control ward, usually in this pixel brush here, just so that they have as minimal view of this situation as possible. So if there's already a control ward here, then you want to make sure that you're establishing control of vision here.
Right, okay.
Do you have control wards? You do, you have one.
Yep.
Okay, let's see what you do with that. And you've still got 4 normal wards as well. I want to see those placed as well. So the enemy have put a ward over the wall here. You're still holding onto the control ward, and Drip Baron's now been started. And now you're dead. Yeah. So yeah, you want to make sure the most important thing is just getting the vision set up as quickly as possible, because even if you die then, at least you have done the warding part of the fight done.
Right, okay.
That needs to be the most important thing, the first thing that you need to do. So control ward in the pit as quickly as possible. Make sure the enemy team see, because now you're kind of hoping that none of your team has control wards, and none of your team has oracles either. So that ward is actually going to be staying there now the entire time.
Yeah.
Which is quite rough.
Yeah, that is very rough.
Not sure exactly how you ended up in a position where you could go onto you here either. Let me just have a look. Yeah, if you had a ward in this brush here, so like it would be controlled here, at least a normal ward here, because like say if you're all bunched up around the pit, and like say Baron is on 3k health, and it's like really urgent that you guys need to kill this, like no one's going to be hanging around here, everyone's going to be focusing on the Baron, so no one's actually going to be standing in this brush giving you vision, and the enemy team will likely be patrolling into this area anyway. So you don't want to have like blips of like vision where they can use this brush to dip in and out of vision. So you always make sure like around these important objectives that you got as many brushes as possible warded. That you could even put a ward in this brush, a control ward here. If you felt safe, put a ward over the wall, or look to like ward this brush if you felt like, you know, you had the absolute confidence to do that. But I want to see more urgency on the vision in particular.
Okay.
Somehow you managed to walk. You see this Yi, but you're patrolling into him. Like, you know he's in that area, but I think you're tunnel visioning too much on this, helping out this Nasus. But at this point, the Nasus is just kind of dissuading them from coming into the Baron. He's kind of doing his job anyway. You don't really need to facilitate this. Like, you can't help him anyway. He's way too deep. So your main priority is still the Baron and the actual objective being done. So don't lose track of what's actually the reason why you're here in the first place. Unfortunately, your ulti does miss, but Yi does die, which means there's no risk of a smite still, at least anyway. There's just some things to think of. Do you have any questions about what I was talking about there?
No, I think I just need to actually like have a go and put it into practice, I think. Hey, what you're saying makes perfect sense though.
Okay. So yeah, I'm not gonna go through anymore because I feel like I may be overloading you a bit too much now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna like ease off here, and I'm just gonna do just some quick evaluation points for you. I don't know if you want to write anything down at all or not, but
yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Just to grab a pen.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so when let's start right at the earliest point in the game. So let's go back a bit and revisit. I think you need to be looking to stack up your passive more often by throwing out your Qs. You always kind of want to be ready with that double cast, especially when later in the game you're going to have better mana regeneration anyway, and your Q isn't really like that big of an impact anyway. So I would like to see more on that stacking. Actually, I've just noticed, I should have noticed this earlier, but in your build, you're maxing E first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I want you to try practicing putting 3 points in Q first, and then maxing E.
Right, okay.
So if you're looking at this now, what I'm showing you on this list, the damage only goes up. Can you see this on screen?
Yeah.
The damage only goes up by 20, but also the mana cost goes up. The cooldown reduction does go down, but it's like 0.7 per point. So at the early stages of the game, it's really not that important. It's much more useful like as the game goes on.
Okay.
So I would say you want to put points in Q. As you can see, like it does more damage. Anyway, and also the AP ratio goes up, so it's plus 20. Next patch as well, on Wednesday, this is getting buffed as well.
Okay.
So you'll be getting a lot more damage from your Q. Anyway, so I would do 3 points in Q, just to help harass the enemy. Then you can look into maxing your E for the crowd control and team fights. And then finish off maxing your Q, because putting points in W is just pretty bad anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, W per point value is really bad. So it would be 3 points in E, 3 points in Q, sorry.
Okay.
3 points in Q, max E, and then finish off maxing your Q.
Right, okay.
You'll find that it's quite similar to some other support champions. If you ever switch, like other champions put 3 points in their harassing tool, and then maximize the utility, and then once they've maximized their utility, then they're maxing, putting the points left over in whatever they were just doing or in something else.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you're Soraka, 3 points in Q, then maxes her heal, and then yeah. So
I've not played too much of Soraka, so
yeah. So it's a very, you'll come across this if you play more support champions, that it becomes quite common ground. It doesn't happen on Nami. I know you played Nami, so that's not the case with Nami, but there are champions out there where you will put like 3 points just in the harassing tool, just so that you're more relevant during the laning phase. And you could, and that means that means also you've got a bit more kill potential in lane as well.
Yeah, because more damage. Okay, that makes sense.
And the mana cost only goes up 5 per point, whereas with the E, it goes up by 10 per point. You're saving mana, you're doing more damage. Also, when the cooldown on your Q is a little bit lower as well, it means that you'll get this passive up, your double cast, a little bit more often as well. So there's a lot of benefits to getting a few points in your Q. If you felt like, I would honestly rather see put 3 points in Q or 5 points in Q than max E first.
Okay.
So whatever you feel comfortable with. If you feel like you're doing great amount of DPS or whatever, then you can always put 5 points in Q first before putting even more points in E, but at least 3 points in Q. Also, it helps you wave clear as well. Just to add on top of that, like with the wave management pressure that we were maybe talking about, which we didn't really go into too much information, it will help with the wave clearing and things like that as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so we mentioned stacking up your passive is a big one. When you're just moving around the map, just stack that passive up by just chucking at random Qs. When you're moving around and roaming, I haven't had any issue with your movement in terms of roaming, but like you just need to make sure that you're warding brushes as you're going past them. I don't want to see you when you're like as well recording in a brush that's quite deep, and you have a ward charge as you're recording. Just ward the brush that you're in.
Right. Okay.
Otherwise, you're just wasting opportunities. I want you to ask yourself, particularly when you're moving on to like 10 minutes plus into the game, like think about where team fights are likely going to be taking place, like what objective is going to be important to fight over. In most cases, the most basic case that I want you to think about for now is the Dragon, Herald, and Baron. Herald you probably won't interact with too much in your games, but Dragon and the Baron are going to be the ones that you will be identifying the most of where the team fights are going to be likely taking place. So I want you to try and set up vision around those areas. You've identified, say, okay, Right, this dragon is about to come up. It's likely that's where the fight's going to be taking place. I'm going to get a couple of wards in this area, recall if I have to, if I can reset. That's great, and then to come back in, and then if they've cleared up my vision, look to regain it.
Okay. Yep.
I think, yeah, one other issue as well was identifying targets that are overextending by themselves. I want to see you try and be more aggressive into those targets when they're by themselves. So if it's a 2v1 situation, you and your AD carry versus, you know, like this, for example, this Ashe who was overextending by herself. If you're confident that the enemy, you can't see like the enemy support, like that's super close nearby, I want to see you being more aggressive into them and look for that play.
Okay.
Like you have a numbers advantage, so basically just use it.
Awesome.
Apart from that, the Seraphine ulti is obviously the big factor. Just try. I think overall your ultis have been okay. Nothing like super crazy bad, but like I'll try when you get into this team fight stage or 20. I think your ultis in the skirmishes have been fine in the early stages of the game. But
Okay.
as the game progresses on, I want to see some juicier ults coming from you. Maybe waiting for a teammate to do a crowd control first, and then overlap from that. It's always going to be easier to Seraphine ult when they're heading towards you rather than when they're running away from you as well. So try and wait to see if they... So you either ideally want to overlap it on top of crowd control, or you're waiting for them to come into you. Your ulti doesn't have to be the first thing that has to happen, but you just want really just need to focus like greatly on getting the right angle and positioning yourself in a way that you can hit as many targets as possible, even if that means like flashing at a certain angle in order to put that up to make that happen.
Okay.
Because like just chucking out like a random like couple of Qs and Es is generally not going to do a huge amount. So it could mean like using your W just to like help movement speed position in a way that you can hit an extra target, or so that you can get behind your ally to then get a slightly further ulti.
Right, got you.
So that is literally your main concern. Well, okay, that's your second main concern. Your main concern is getting vision of the area, making sure you
Yeah.
identify the objective, then it's positioning on getting a nice ulti off.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Also, just consider font of life as well, because the shield bash damage here isn't super amazing. I mean, you are getting bonus armor and magic resistance from the shield bash. It's not like a thing that I overly care about too much. It's up to you. If
Okay,
you
I'll
have,
give it a go.
if you have a program that's just doing this for you, that's fine. Like some people use like, I won't name the apps, but apps that help them do the runes and stuff. So that's fine. I think a lot of people do use them. So if you want to use shield bash still and it's too much for you to think about that, then just leave it.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go and see what happens with it.
Basically, it depends. How often do you pick up like Ardent and things like that, do you think? In Chemtech you are picking up and it should proc off that. So okay, so don't worry about it too much then. I think this rune isn't too bad against like hard engage, because you are getting that extra armor and magic resistance as well. So if you're getting hard engaged, you're going to be panic Wing anyway, so that you are going to be a little bit tanky anyway from that. So it's okay. All right, but we'll leave that alone then.
Okay.
So just the only thing I want you to change in terms of your build is your skill order.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense as well, to be honest. Like now you've actually explained it.
Yeah. So yeah, interestingly, yeah, just a little bit more confidence on on the people that are by themselves. Skill order we mentioned, just a bit more wards being placed as you're moving around anyway. When you're there anyway, you should be warding anyway. And also this mid lane ward as well. The most important ward in the entire game is the mid lane ward. If I could only choose one ward to place in the entire game, it would be in this lane.
Yeah.
That's how strong that is. Just to see where teams are rotating.
That is very strong.
Yeah. That's all I've got. Do you have any questions?
No.
No, I can tell that I think I can just that you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're maybe getting a little bit overwhelmed here.
A little bit.
Okay.
It's a little bit information overload, but obviously I'll go back and relook at it again once my
Mm-hmm.
brain's like processed what we've talked about.
Mm-hmm. And at least you've wrote down those notes as well. I'm glad I
Yeah,
made
I
you write
have,
them
yeah.
down. So you got like about 5 or 6 key points there.
Yeah.
Um, I mean the skill order hopefully will just come naturally to you anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll get into the habit of warding when you're moving around the map anyway.
Yeah, I like it sounds really weird because like in other games I have done it, so I don't know why I've not done it that game. Like that
Okay.
sounds really silly.
Yeah, I mean I think it's what's happened here is it's so severe of a vision misplay that
Yeah.
we have to make sure that this doesn't ever happen again, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah. Yeah, I'd say like the vision is just like the probably the biggest weakness that you have right now from what I see overall.
Yep.
So make sure you like nail that down a little bit more. Just get a little bit more urgency over the objectives, and just as I mentioned, just ask yourself that question like, what are the teams going to be actually fighting over? Like try and like just make sure that you're not caught off guard and thinking, oh god, your dragon's actually like spawned and I'm not there. Like just try and like the more time and anticipation that you give yourself to like understand like when these things are spawning and getting yourself like in the right areas at the right time, it will like help you out a lot rather than like frustrate you in terms of like having to do panic face checking into brushes and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
Okay. Right, well do let me know if during the week if you have any questions or anything.
I will do, yeah, 100%.
You're probably the person I'm gonna keep an eye on the most, just to make
Okay.
sure, not in a bad like evil way, but just to make sure. I feel like you probably would need a little bit more attention.
Okay, that's
Um,
fine.
so yeah, don't feel too bad if you need to like call out for help or whatever. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good to hear.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Make sure you put the Sudoku
Thank
games in,
you. I will.
and don't get too scared.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I wanna hopefully one of these weeks that we have a look at a coaching session, I wanna see a nice flash kind of like ulti play where you get multiple targets, and then that would make me really happy, I think.
Okay.
Where you wait patiently and then suddenly it's like flash, like angle, and you hit your ally and then you hit 3 enemies and your whole team cleans up from that. That's the kind of like dream Seraphine play I'm looking from you.
Okay.
Alright.
I'll try.
Okay. Alright, all the best. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that coaching session. They aren't in the voice call now. But as mentioned, it's one of the people I'm probably the most concerned about, but hopefully we can guide them into progressing in League. It's one of the reasons why I've opted to not doing this coaching session on stream and doing it off stream, so it's like YouTube only, just to make them feel a little bit more confident and not too distracted at everything going on. So hopefully next time we view one of NaturalEvee's games, we'll see some vision improvement for sure. That's like the one thing I'm looking at the most. And the second, just a bit more confidence in the plays. Well, those two main things are the main ones. Like the ability skill order, it's whatever. That's not exactly a hard one to solve. And then from there we can then look at more things and more like problems that they're making. So yeah, let me know how you thought I did in this coaching session. I definitely gave information overload, which I'm a little bit concerned about, but hopefully it's not too much for the person to understand. Yeah, let me know if you like seeing the enchanters. It's nice to get a Seraphine game as opposed to like another AP mage. And as I mentioned as well earlier, that the next person that we're doing a coaching session on should be a tank. So we should have all 3 different types of support to analyze and kind of work out where they can improve. If you've enjoyed this series so far, make sure you subscribe. If you're not on Twitch Or if you are on Twitch and you're not following me, twitch.tv/Bizzleberry. I play lots of solo queue, do more coaching sessions, and play some other games on there as well. And I look forward to seeing you to the next episode of this coaching series. So episode 4 coming soon. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified, and see you for that one. Take care, guys.